Here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. Of Enemies and Endings, the fourth and final book of the Ever After series by Shelby Bach. It's amazing. So this book is not going to be released until June 30th, but that gives you just enough time to reread the first 3 books before you get your hands on it, and believe me, you are going to want to do that. Now this copy is an advanced reading copy that I received from the author in return for an honest review. It did not disappoint me. So much angst, so much anxiety, so much fun. I can't remember the last time that I was so invested in a book. You know those jokes about book hangovers and readers who just don't want to deal with reality because they're still entirely consumed by a fictional universe? This is that book. I still haven't recovered. I finished this book 2 weeks ago and I am almost done with another, and I still just want to be reading this one. I care so much about these characters. I love them so much. I never ever want to let them go. Okay, so about the book. There will be no spoilers for Of Enemies and Endings in this review, although I will warn you, once you start this book, you are not going to want to put it down. In fact, you shouldn't. Definitely not at chapter 18. Especially not at chapter 18. That crushed my soul for a whole weekend. Don't do it. Just don't. This is the final book of the Ever After series. Everything is coming to a head and everything has changed for Rory. At the end of the last book, she finally told her parents the truth about the Ever After school. It was so much fun seeing her family deal with this. I especially loved Amy. And her family is not just adjusting and coming to terms with the fact that there's this entire magical world. They have to come to terms with Rory's role in this new world. I will admit, I have become increasingly impatient with Maggie, Rory's mom, as the series progresses, because she just doesn't understand. And Rory can't make her understand, and so I've had my issues with Maggie in the past, but that just goes to show you how well her character is portrayed. How do you think an overprotective mother is going to react to this kind of stuff? And then there's Chase, whose position changed significantly at the end of the last book. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm just gonna say that this development, yeah, it adds substantially to the emotional roller coaster ride that is Of Enemies and Endings. Now a warning, Of Enemies and Endings is a lot more serious than the other books in this series. The series has gradually become so with higher stakes in each book, but this one really takes the cake. Usually we have the fun banter of the characters, specifically Chase, to keep things more lighthearted and upbeat. Well, Bach doesn't drop the jokes cold turkey, but because of the escalating intensity and the approaching deadline of Rory's face-off with the Snow Queen, there are considerably less of them. Specifically Chase's. I will admit that I laughed hysterically on page 174, and I feel really, really bad about it. Shelby Bach's foreshadowing skills continue to astound me. There were things that were mentioned in book 2 that led directly into a major event of the finale, and I didn't even notice the clues. Every detail in every book is so masterfully and subtly interwoven into the story that I am in awe. Stunned, even. Bach always has an amazing knack for making her characters so realistic. Doing what they should be doing instead of what you actually want them to be doing. Which is in turns both frustrating and fantastic. Something that I really liked about Of Enemies and Endings is that it doesn't follow the traditional format of a tale and quest. It's so unpredictable, which is quite fitting when you think about it, because the tale of Rory Landon is an unwritten one. There are no predecessors. They don't know what's gonna happen. While some of the plot twists I did see coming, there were others that smacked me right between the eyes, like one of Lena's baseball bats of destruction. One of the big surprises for me in this book was actually Hansel. We get to see a new side of him that clashes with the image that Rory has built of him over the series. And I love that. I love getting to see new facets of characters and see them from another perspective. He is probably my favorite minor character in this story, and he is definitely worth a mention. I'm not going to lie. This book got me right in the gut, guys. I mean, I loved the others, but this one, right in I laughed. I cried. I was terrified. I yelled at characters. A lot. I had a few issues with some of the things that were going on. There were parts that just ripped my heart out. And then there were other parts that almost put it back together again. And then there were parts that just wrenched it out and tore it all up. To say that this was an emotional roller coaster ride would be an understatement. But the most important thing you need to know is that it's worth it. Every moment, even the heartbreaking ones, especially the heartbreaking ones, were all worth it. This is an amazing piece of storytelling. Quite possibly the best book of the entire series. And while it's full of angst and emotional turmoil and moments that'll make you want to throw it across the room, this is how the series needed to end. Oh gosh, I feel like I'm spelling out all this gloom and doom for you. Don't worry, whatever you do, just don't dread this book, okay? Because it's wonderful and it's amazing. It's just more serious than the others, but I mean, this is the conclusion. This is where everything comes to a head, even the things you didn't know were things. And this is where everyone hits their lowest low, collectively and individually. There is so much going on of enemies and endings. Expect a knot of excitement and anxiety in your stomach the entire time. I think in part for me, this was because I knew that Of Enemies and Endings was the end. The end. I wanted to gobble it whole and put it off and savor it indefinitely all at once. This book was spectacular. It was not disappointing. It was everything I wanted it to be, plus more. I am completely satisfied with the series. Not to say I wouldn't love to see more if perchance we got some short stories, or maybe even another series taking place in the same universe. But I have no complaints. The final book is beautiful and I immediately wanted to read it again. Of Enemies and Endings by Shelby Bach, the fourth and final book of the Ever After series, gets 5 stars. And the Ever After series collectively gets 20 of those beauties. Plus, 2 thumbs up, a squeal of delight, lifetime devotion, instant recommendation to any single human being who asks, and an immortal spot high on my list of all-time favorites. Thank you, Shelby Bach, for this awesome and amazing adventure. I hate to see it end, but man, what an ending. Of Enemies and Endings will be available on June 30th, and don't miss that chance. And keep an eye on my channel because I'll probably be doing something to celebrate it. This is Amanda, reviewing the last of the Ever Afters.